Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. An economist has expressed doubt over the decision by the central bank to allocate the electricity company $3 million every month to run its operations, saying the amount is too much. The SPLM-IO says its supporters in Upper Nile have declined to participate in the forthcoming State Peace Conference. And the traffic police have once again launched a crackdown on vehicles with tinted windows in Juba. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Woja Emmanuel, and now the news in detail. An economist has expressed doubt over the decision by the central bank to allocate the electricity company $3 million every month to run its operations, saying the amount is too much. On January 10th, Ezra Power Plant and its subcontractor Juba Electricity Distribution Company, or JEDCO, threatened to shut down the power supply over failure to obtain hard currency from the government. Okot Emmanuel has more on this story.
The company said they had run out of dollars to import heavy fuel used for running the generators. But after a day, the company announced they would continue supplying power after the government agreed to provide them with some foreign currency. Details of the agreement were not immediately revealed to the public. However, addressing the media last week, Central Bank Governor Dier Tong said the bank would provide the power company $3 million per month to enable it to run the operations smoothly. Commenting on the matter, economist Hamed Morgan, who is also a lecturer at the University of Juba, argues that the amount is too much. He explains why he thinks so.
JEDCO is a foreign-based business and it has to repatriate its profit. I don't believe that its running cost could be $3 million in a month. No. First of all, JEDCO is using local labor force, which they are being paid in pounds. Maybe yes, they could need some money to import fuel and even not spare parts. You know, a newly formed company, you don't expect them to have spare parts immediately like this one. So the money they are getting is to take it out, not for just operation. Too much. In a month, too much. You see, central bank should have taken proper study to see the nature of the demand of the company, especially when they're demanding things from outside. Should have formed even a committee to work with them, so that they see into it that the money that is being given at that low rate of exchange is used properly like this to serve this community. So in a nutshell, let me say, you see, we need to take care of businesses. We need to have a research-based economy in South Sudan.
Ezra Group of Companies built and is operating the 100 megawatts power plant in Juba. The Juba City Power Distribution System was constructed with the support of African Development Bank, which provided $38 million. At the end of last year, JEDCO said it had connected 10,000 households, over 3,500 businesses, and over 200 governmental institutions to the power grid. According to the agreement, the South Sudan government will take over the power plant in the future. Reporting for iRadio News, I am Okot Emmanuel.
The SPLM-IO says its supporters in Upper Nile have declined to participate in the forthcoming state conference. Last month, the presidency announced it would facilitate a peace and reconciliation forum of the communities in the state to iron out their differences. Kelly Abale files this brief report.
The conference would be attended by 496 participants comprising of political and community leaders from Upper Nile State. The communities in Upper Nile State, namely the Cholo, Nuer, Dinka, Maban and Koma, have lived peacefully for years until 2013, when civil war destroyed their social fabric and displaced thousands out of their homes. The participants are expected to discuss cohesion among the 5 communities and unite among the political leaders of the Upper Nile State. President Salva Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar are expected to address the participants. But according to the SPLA-IO Director for Information and Public Relations, Pok Bok, their supporters will not take part without the state government.
The components of the community of the Upper Nile State and the SPLM-SPLA-IO has issued a press release. It declined to attend the conference without the appointment of their governor. And secondly, they have even stated that they will wait for the appointment of their governor so that they can participate in the conference together, so that they can solve and this matter with the attendance of the governor, so that they can hear the problems and the grievances, so that they can address it once.
Upper Nile State is yet to get a governor after SPLA-IO nominee Johnson Olony was rejected by President Salva Kiir last year, claiming he was outside the country. Since then, the main peace parties have been engaged in a tug of war over General Olony. Reporting for iRadio, I am Kelly Abale.
This is iRadio News. Traffic police have once again launched a crackdown on vehicles with tinted windows in Juba. Yesterday morning, motorists say they woke up to harassment by the police with the support of the other organized forces, including the regular police, national security, and the army. Deployed at every road intersection, the police pulled over vehicles with tinted windows, paralyzing road traffic in parts of the capital, according to eyewitnesses. When contacted by iRadio, police spokesperson Major General Daniel Justin said they were targeting sedan cars, which he claimed criminals hide behind their darkened windows.
It is actually a resolution from the Council of Ministers 2 years ago, and we implemented it, and the situation was a bit normal. So, but later on, these people resorted back to tinting their vehicles, especially these small cars, the Limo, the Harrier, and all this. And all these small cars, in many cases, are involved in this night robbery or armed robbery. That is why we thought wise to carry out this operation to reduce crimes.
However, recent remarks by senior government officials suggested that most armed robberies are carried out by members of the organized forces, including the regular police, national security, and the army. In addition, the Traffic Act 2003 does not criminalize tinted car windows in the country. The United Nations Humanitarian Agency says the revitalized peace agreement signed 2 years ago has not changed the humanitarian situation in South Sudan. As of today, a total of 72 counties in the country still face extreme humanitarian needs, while 5 are in severe need. This accounts for some 8.3 million in South Sudan estimated to be in need of humanitarian assistance in 2021. According to the UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, UN OCHA, the implementation of the peace deal has not benefited the ordinary people. It is said South Sudan remained a protection crisis in 2020. This is because the leaders have failed to restore durable peace and invest in basic services that encourage stability and sustainable development. My colleague Emmanuel Joseph Akile has the detail.
In the 2 years since the signing of the agreement, South Sudan economy has continued a downward spiral, pushing people to the brink, especially in urban areas. The UN organization noted that communities were also hit hard by the triple shock of intensified conflict and subnational violence, a second consecutive year of major flooding, and the impacts of coronavirus in 2020. It said access to essential services, including healthcare, education, water and sanitation, as well as protection and legal services, was already limited, and much of the service infrastructure was damaged, destroyed, or closed in the same year. The organization also cited insecurity, lack of basic services, and unresolved housing, land and property as issues that prevented people from returning home in large numbers. Some 1.6 million people have remained internally displaced and another 2.2 million as refugees in the region since 2013. In an overview of humanitarian needs report released yesterday, UN OCHA said people's coping mechanisms weakened as a consequence of the cumulative shocks, leading families to adopt negative practices such as forced labor and child marriage. It disclosed that women and girls continue to face extreme levels of gender-based violence and psychosocial distress. These conditions of physical and mental well-being, living standards, and coping mechanisms are expected to further deteriorate in 2021. UN OCHA estimates that 8 million South Sudanese women, men, girls, and boys, and 310,000 refugees are asylum seekers will require food assistance. This is an 800,000 increase in absolute numbers from the 7.5 million people in need in 2020. According to the Intersectional Severity of Needs Analysis, humanitarian shortages are most concerning in Pibor County in Jonglei, which was classified as the only county in catastrophic need. UN OCHA underscored the importance of ending violence against aid workers and assets and allowing unhindered access to hundreds of thousands of vulnerable people in need. It concluded that humanitarian assistance delivered to more than 6 million people in 2020 kept communities from falling into deeper need.
My colleague Emmanuel Akile ending that report. You are still listening to iRadio News, and before approaching stories coming from the region and the international scene, the Ministry of General Education and Instruction is saying it will disinfect all schools across the country ahead of the reopening. This is in line with the coronavirus protocols to prevent the spread of the deadly coronavirus among school children. The Undersecretary, Dr. Kuyog Abol Kuyog, says all schools will be required to measure temperature of every child before entering school premises. Dr. Abol spoke to journalists yesterday in Juba.
This is a very important day in our attempt to reopen schools safely and securely. It is the responsibility of the Ministry of General Education to ensure that the schools are functioning safely and that our teachers, pupils, parents and communities are saved from COVID-19. We are going to live with COVID-19 for a while. So we need to continue to disinfect schools and make sure that our pupils, when they come to school in the morning, the temperature is measured, and that those ones that will be found with a high temperature will have to be screened.
On Tuesday, the Ministry of Health confirmed 17 new cases of coronavirus, raising South Sudan's tally to 3,882. The results were obtained from 400 samples tested across the country. The number of fatalities due to the virus remains at 64. This is iRadio News, and now my colleague Okot Emmanuel joins us with the latest stories from the region and the international scene. Hello, Okot.
Mali military junta which
Sorry for that technical mistake. This is iRadio News, and now my colleague Kelly Abale joins us with the latest stories from the sports world.
Thank you. A look onto sports stories making headlines this afternoon. In the South Sudan Cup Juba edition, Suk Hajar FC were beaten 3-0 by Buluk Emtidad FC, and Rock City FC lost 1-0 to Viva Stars FC, while Gumbo FC won 1-0 over Talanga FC. Today in the Juba South Sudan Cup, Munuki FC plays Nyakron FC at Munuki Playground, Kabu FC battles Kemeru FC at Jamusa Playground, while Almeric FC battles defending champions Al Rabita FC at Buluk Playground. All the games will kick off at 4 p.m. The South Sudan basketball national team will assemble in the Rwandan capital Kigali next Tuesday as they prepare for the second round of qualifiers for the AfroBasket taking place in Tunisia. SSBF President Lol Deng confirmed that the federation will use the same set of players who took part in the first round of the qualifiers that took place in Rwanda late last year. South Sudan will face the likes of Nigeria, Rwanda and Mali, with the team only needing a win from the 3 games to make it through to the AfroBasket 2021. The games kick off on 17th February in Tunisia. The Botswana Football Association has paid tribute to former national team coach David Bright, who has died at the age of 64. In a statement, the BFA said that it was really in shock and mourning the death of Major Bright, who passed away on Monday evening after he was diagnosed with COVID-19 recently. As well as coaching Botswana on several occasions, he was also in charge of several club sides both at home and in South Africa. There was also a tribute from the BFA second Vice President Masengo for a man who was a member of the Botswana Defence Force for 13 years. Finally, in the world of sports this afternoon, Manchester City climbed to the top of the Premier League by handing West Bromwich Albion another home hammering. For the second week running, City were the beneficiaries of a continuous offside call, but there can be no doubt that they would have routed the hosts regardless. Ike Gundogan continued his inspired run in front of a goal with 2 excellent strikes. Joe Cancelo scored while an offside flag was raised and several players seemed to stop, and Riyad Mahrez powered in a fourth before the break. Raheem Sterling got in on the act in the second half as City ended a day on top of the table for the first time this season. That's all we had for you in the world of sports this afternoon. Thanks for listening. My name is Kelly Abale.
Thank you, Kelly Abale, and of course that brings us to the end of this afternoon bulletin, but here is the look at our main stories. An economist has expressed doubt over the decision by the central bank to allocate the electricity company $3 million every month to run its operations, saying the amount is too much. The SPLM-IO says its supporters in Upper Nile have declined to participate in the forthcoming State Peace Conference. And the traffic police have once again launched a crackdown on vehicles with tinted windows in Juba. That is the end of iRadio Afternoon News. You can also get these stories and updates by subscribing to iRadio News Alerts on your MTN South Sudan number. Call 700 or dial star 700 hash and follow the instructions. If there's a story or an event you like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 912 986 986. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba. Like our Facebook page, iRadio. You can also visit our website and stream live at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at hour. From me, Woja Emmanuel, and the rest of the team behind this afternoon bulletin, thank you for listening and do have a lovely afternoon.
معكم في جنوب السودان.
A perguntar como onde eu vou, não vou dizer com quem eu estou ou deixo de estar. Não te interessa, tu vais estragar. Eu sei que é só blá blá. Nesse teu jogo não vou entrar. Não sou fácil de impressionar. Uma vez bastou pra ver esse teu show. Não caio na tua, não. As tuas mentiras, miúda, estás te achar. Assim tu estás-me dar baile, dar baile, dar baile. Assim estás-me dar baile, dar baile, dar baile. Eu não caio na tua, não. Eu não vou ser teu. Assim estás-me dar baile, dar baile, dar baile. Estás a complicar, bué, pra quê? Não vês que eu já tirei o pé? Eu já não quero mais saber. Eu estou nem aí para o que vai dizer. Eu não sou Zé ninguém. Sempre quis o teu bem. Sempre fui teu amigo. Acreditei em ti. Esse teu joguinho pra mim não dá. Quando te procurei tu não estavas lá. Eu já conheço esse teu blá blá. Quando precisava já estava lá. Contigo eu nunca te falhei. E desse teu jogo algum dia eu ia me cansar. Assim tu estás-me dar baile, me dar baile, me dar baile. Assim estás-me dar baile, dar baile, dar baile. Eu não caio na tua.